For years, I let them believe I was a nobody, a jobless, ambitionless husband, a burden who lived off his wife's success. I sat quietly while Sophia, my loving and hardworking wife, fed the illusion that she was the sole provider in our marriage. She played her part flawlessly, soaking up the sympathy and admiration from anyone who would listen. At first, it started small. She would laugh at dinner parties when someone joked about me being unemployed. Then, the comments got sharper, more public, more cruel. "He stays at home all day," she'd sigh, shaking her head dramatically. "I don't even know what he does with his time." People laughed. They patted her back. They told her she was so strong for supporting a useless husband, and she let them believe it. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the company she worked for, the very place she bragged about, belonged to me. It wasn't just at home. Her workplace was where she truly thrived. She wasn't just another employee there. She was the queen bee, adored for her supposed struggles. Her co-workers, Melissa, Greg, Angela, and Scott, treated me like a joke every time I came to pick her up. One afternoon, I walked in her office lobby, waiting near the entrance like I usually did. The laughter coming from the break room was loud, too loud. And then I heard my name. "You should have seen him," Sophia was saying, her voice dripping with amusement. "He tried to help me with the bills the other day. I told him, 'Honey, maybe if you had a job, you could.'" Laughter exploded around the room. Melissa snorted. "Maybe you should apply here. I hear we need someone to fetch coffee." Angela giggled. No, we should make him Sophia's assistant. At least then, she can tell him what to do properly." Greg smirked. "Or better yet, he can clean the bathrooms. At least he'd finally have a role in society." More laughter. And then Sophia saw me. She didn't look guilty. She didn't look ashamed. She smirked. "Oh, look," she cooed. "Here he is, probably hoping I'll buy him dinner again." The entire room roared with laughter. I stood there, emotionless, letting the scene burn itself into my mind. I took in every smirk, every mocking glance, every cruel word, because soon, their laughter would be replaced with fear. That night, as Sophia slept soundly beside me, I picked up my phone and made a single call. My assistant answered instantly. "Sir, schedule a mandatory executive meeting for tomorrow morning," I said, my voice deadly calm. "No exceptions." She paused. "Are you finally doing it?" I exhaled, a slow smirk spreading across my face. "I'm cleaning house." The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. The building was buzzing with energy. A major client deal had just been secured, and employees were in high spirits. No one suspected a thing. Sophia was in the lounge with her friends, basking in their admiration. She had no idea that everything was about to change. I walked past her without saying a word. "Here to pick me up?" she asked smugly. I turned to her, my face unreadable. "Not today." Then the intercom buzzed. "All employees, please report to the conference room for an emergency meeting. Attendance is mandatory." Sophia frowned. "What's going on?" I didn't answer. I just kept walking. She, along with everyone else, followed. The conference room was packed. Dozens of employees whispered among themselves, confused and intrigued. At the front of the room, the CEO's chair sat empty. I walked straight to it, sat down, and the room fell silent. Melissa's jaw dropped. Greg stiffened. Angela froze mid-sip of her coffee. Sophia? She looked like she had seen a ghost. I let them sit in it, let the realization sink in before I finally spoke. "For those of you who don't know me," I said, my voice steady, "my name is Daniel Wright. And as of today, I will be making some changes to this company." Melissa was the first to crack. She let out a nervous laugh. "What kind of joke is this?" I didn't smile. I pressed a button on my remote, and the screen behind me lit up. Financial records, emails, transactions, proof of every dirty little secret. The blood drained from Greg's face. Angela's hands shook. Scott's breathing became shallow. And Sophia? She wasn't breathing at all. I stood up, pacing slowly, letting the weight of their sins crush them. "Melissa," I said smoothly, "would you like to explain why company funds were being transferred to your personal accounts?" She choked on air. That's a mistake." I turned to Greg. "And you?" I tapped the screen. "Those inflated sales reports you submitted?" They don't match the actual revenue. Greg visibly shook. I clicked again. Angela's HR cover-ups. Another click. Scott's leaked company secrets. One by one, their carefully built lies collapsed. I leaned back in my chair. You all laughed at me, I said. Mocked me. Called me a failure. Silence. You thought I was beneath you. More silence. Well, I smirked. Now, you're all fired. Security stepped in. Melissa screamed. Greg begged. Angela cried. Scott turned red with rage. And Sophia? She looked like her entire world had just shattered. Sophia turned to me, her voice barely a whisper. Daniel, tell me this is a joke. I met her gaze, cold and unyielding. I'm not laughing. I slid a folder across the table. Your bank accounts are closed. Your access is revoked. And this? She hesitated before looking down. Divorce papers. Her breath hitched. You're divorcing me? I exhaled slowly, tilting my head. No, Sophia. You divorced yourself the day you chose mockery over respect. Tears welled in her eyes. I stood, adjusting my suit. You spent years making me feel like nothing. And now I met her broken gaze. You're the one with nothing. And with that, I turned and walked away. The room was dead silent as I turned my back on them. The same people who once laughed at me, ridiculed me, and treated me like a joke were now sitting in stunned silence, watching their lives fall apart in real time. Security stepped in, waiting for my command. Melissa tried to argue, her face twisted with panic. You can't do this. I was just following orders. Greg's hands clawed at his tie, sweat beading on his forehead. Please, Daniel. I held up a hand, silencing them. You should have thought about this before you treated me like dirt. Angela, who had spent years smirking in Sophia's shadow, sobbed into her hands. Scott's jaw clenched. This is a power trip, isn't it? You're just getting off on this. I chuckled, shaking my head. No, Scott. This is justice. Sophia, meanwhile, was still frozen in place. She hadn't spoken, hadn't moved. For the first time in our marriage, she had no words. She looked at the divorce papers, her hands shaking as she flipped through the pages. This isn't happening, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. You don't mean this? I tilted my head, watching her carefully. Oh, I mean it. Her head snapped up, and for the first time, her eyes held fear. Real fear. You can't just throw everything away, she said, her voice breaking. We build a life together. I let out a humorless chuckle. You build a lie, Sophia, and you build it on my name? She flinched. The confident, smug woman who once stood above me, mocking me, humiliating me in front of her coworkers, her friends, our family, was now sitting in front of me completely shattered. I waited for the fake tears, the manipulative apologies, but they never came. She was too stunned to even lie. I turned to security. Escort them out. Melissa let out a shriek of rage, trying to shove her way toward me. You'll regret this, Daniel. I swear. Greg begged. I have kids, Daniel, please. Angela screamed. You're a monster. Scott clenched his fists. You won't get away with this. One by one, they were dragged out, their carefully built careers crashing down around them. And then there was only Sophia. Security waited. I gave her one last long look. I trusted you, I said, my voice quiet. I gave you everything. Her eyes glistened with tears, but I felt nothing. Now you have nothing. And with that, I walked out. The news spread like wildfire. The moment those 4 disgraced employees were thrown out, the entire office knew. Whispers filled the halls. Sophia's name was tarnished overnight. For years, she had painted herself as a hard-working, independent woman carrying a lazy husband. But now, everyone saw the truth. Her image was ruined, and that was only the beginning. That night, when I arrived home, Sophia was already there. She sat on the couch, her eyes red and swollen. Daniel, please, we need to talk. I walked past her, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing my things. Her breathing hitched. Why, you're not serious. You're really leaving? I zipped the suitcase shut and turned to her. You made your choice, Sophia. Tears spilled down her face. Daniel, I messed up. I let it get too far. I got caught up in the attention. I laughed. A deep, bitter laugh. Too far? Sophia, you treated me like I was beneath you. You made a joke out of me, and you loved every second of it. She sobbed harder, but I didn't care. I grabbed my keys, my suitcase, and walked toward the door. She ran to me, grabbing my arm desperately. Don't do this, Daniel. Please. I need you. I slowly pried her fingers off me. No, Sophia. I stepped out, looking at her one last time. You needed me when I was a man you could step on. But I don't need you at all. Then I shut the door in her face. The next day, she tried to come into the office. Her badge was deactivated. She wasn't allowed in. She called my assistant, my legal team, even our mutual friends. No one would help her. Her perfect world was collapsing, piece by piece. She had spent years living off my power without even knowing it. And now, she had nothing. A week later, she showed up at my new apartment. She was a mess. Her hair tangled, her eyes sunken. I just want to talk, she said, her voice small. I leaned against the doorframe. Why? She swallowed hard. Because I love you. I smirked, shaking my head. No, Sophia. You love the power, the status, the attention. You love the idea of me being weak. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Her lips trembled. I can change, Daniel. I'll be better. Just give me another chance. I studied her for a long moment. Then I stepped back, holding the door open. You really want another chance? She nodded quickly, hope flickering in her eyes. I smiled, then turned around, walk away, and never come back. Her face crumpled, and her shoulders shook with quiet sobs. She realized, in that moment, that she had truly lost me. Without another word, she turned and walked away. And I never looked back. Over the next few months, Sophia's life completely unraveled. She lost her job, her social circle, her reputation. People who once admired her now avoided her. She was nothing without me. And me? I thrived. My company flourished under my leadership, free from toxicity. I traveled. I met new people. I built a life I actually enjoyed. One day, I got a message from an unknown number. Can we talk? I deleted it without responding. Because I was finally free. And the best revenge? Was never needing her again. After I shut Sophia out of my life, she did what she did best, played the victim. She went to her family, crying that I had blindsided her, that I was having some kind of midlife crisis, that I had thrown her away for no reason. She spun stories about how I had been distant, how she had only joked about me because she was stressed. At first, her family listened, but as the days passed, the truth caught up to her. My side of the story had already spread, and it wasn't just my version. It was the undeniable truth. People at her office had witnessed how she treated me, how she mocked me to my face, how she made me her joke. She had publicly humiliated me so many times, and now, there was no covering it up. She turned to her friends next, expecting sympathy, but they had heard the real story too. The people she once trusted slowly distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the fact that she had spent years tearing me down while living off my money without even knowing it. For the first time in her life, Sophia had no one to run to. I expected her to try reaching out, but I didn't expect the desperation. She called me the first night I left, her voice breaking over the voicemail. Daniel, please, we need to talk. Just tell me what I can do to fix this. I didn't respond. Then, the calls came every hour. Then, every few minutes. I blocked her number. Emails followed, long, drawn-out messages about how she was sorry, how she never meant to hurt me, how she missed me. I blocked her there too. Next came her showing up at my office, trying to get past security. She demanded to see me, throwing a tantrum in the lobby. She was escorted out. She had spent years laughing at me. And now, she was begging. I didn't feel pity. I felt nothing. Without my financial support, Sophia's entire life fell apart in weeks. Her fancy car? Repossessed. Her expensive shopping habits? Gone. Her lavish lifestyle? Over. With no access to my money and no job, she realized that she wasn't independent. She had only been pretending to be. She had built her life around a lie. And without me, that lie collapsed. She tried getting a new job, but her reputation followed her. No company wanted to hire someone who had publicly disrespected the man who had built the very company she worked for. Employers saw her as untrustworthy, a liability. She had spent years boasting about how much she worked, about how she was the only responsible one in our marriage. But now, she had nothing. Weeks passed before she tried one last desperate move. One night, as I came home from work, I found her standing outside my apartment. She looked nothing like the woman I once knew. Her hair was a mess. Her once carefully done makeup was smudged, and her clothes were wrinkled like she had been crying for days. The moment she saw me, she ran to me, grabbing my arm, her eyes red. "Daniel, please," she whispered, her voice hoarse. I don't know what to do. I didn't say anything, just watched her fall apart in front of me. "I miss you," she sobbed, clutching my sleeve. "I miss us. I was so stupid. Please just tell me what to do to make this right." I slowly removed her hands from me. "You can't fix this, Sophia," I said simply. Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing. No anger, no hate, no regret. Just freedom. "You miss me," I continued, "or do you miss the money, the security, the life I gave you?" She froze, her lip trembling. She wanted to deny it, but she knew the truth as much as I did. I sighed, stepping back. "Go home, Sophia. There's nothing left here for you." Her breath hitched. "Daniel, please don't leave me like this." I tilted my head. "You left me a long time ago. You just didn't notice." And then I shut the door in her face. Sophia hit rock bottom fast. With no money, no job, and no support, she struggled to survive. She moved into a tiny, rundown apartment, barely able to afford rent. She tried getting back into high society, but no one wanted her around. She was blacklisted. She tried dating rich men, but they saw through her immediately. She wasn't a desirable, independent woman anymore. She was desperate, abandoned, used. One evening, I spotted her in a cheap restaurant, waiting tables. She kept her head down, but when she saw me, her entire body stiffened. Greg and Melissa, the same people who used to mock me, were sitting at a table nearby. They saw her too. Greg smirked. "Guess karma really got you, huh, Sophia?" Melissa laughed. "I thought you were too successful to be a waitress." Sophia said nothing. She just walked away, humiliated. For years, she had looked down on me. Now, she had become me. Months later, as I sat in my office, my phone buzzed. A message. From Sophia. "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a moment. Then, I deleted it without responding. She was just a ghost now. Life moved on. My company thrived under my leadership. I traveled. I met new people, new love, new possibilities. Meanwhile, Sophia lost everything. She tried reaching out one last time, but she had become nothing more than a distant memory. She had burned every bridge. And now, she was trapped in the life she had once laughed at. One year later, I stood outside a luxury hotel, about to check in for a vacation. Across the street, I saw her. Sophia. She looked hollow, lost, a shell of the arrogant woman she once was. She saw me. For a brief moment, hope flickered in her eyes. She started to walk toward me, but I just smirked, turned away, and walked inside. She had already lost me, and that was the best revenge.